What'd you learn? Jeff Reedy, tell me something good.
Oh man, let me tell you this. I had a great time. I had a great time with y'all at the ball game, but while I was at the ball game, my wife was at a concert. And she got a signed bat by Yadier Molina.
Who's that? Clapping because they swept the Cubs.
So the moral of the story is I've got to go to more games.
That's right.
What else did you learn?
Candace sold her first house.
Wow. Can I tell you something else about Candace that maybe nobody else has noticed this morning? She has the best shoes in the room. By far. By far. I noticed while you're standing here. I know, right?
Don't be critical of that coffee.
One more thing. What else did you hear good, Danelle Moberly?
It's not good. Well, it is good because we recognize. So, Greg here went to Rotary and the ISU coach spoke and told them that now their players don't actually have to, if they want to go to a different team, that they can do it online instead of coming to their coach.
No more face-to-face contact.
Yeah. Which we
Just like real estate agents.
Yes. Like, see what is happening to us.
The whole world is moving to this non-confrontational, I don't want to
Yes.
have to face reality of anything.
Yeah, we don't think
Isn't
that's
that
a great
interesting? Oh, funny. We might talk about that this morning. Is that all right?
idea. Absolutely. Because we think that's not a good idea.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, thanks, Greg.
All right, so we're slightly changing up the command workshops. Starting next week, they're going to be on opportunities, and they're going to be only on Monday and Tuesday because no one comes to the office on Fridays. So you're alone every Friday. Except for Dawn. Dawn is very loyal, and I appreciate it greatly. Okay. I know. So. I know. All right. Well, anyway, Monday and Tuesday, and then one of those days is actually going to be like a class. So I'm going to be training you on something that day, and then the other day is going to be like the typical workshop format where you just ask questions. And during the workshops, you can ask questions on anything, but the classes are going to be on opportunities.
Awesome.
Cool.
Anybody using Command really yet?
Well, for compliance, yes, sir.
These Tibbets, what's that?
For compliance, absolutely.
Well, you have, yeah, I get that you use it for what you have to do to get your check, but I'm telling you, there's some super powerful things in it, and I think we keep discovering stuff on our own. So, right, I get a text from Jesse every now and then going, oh my gosh, I didn't know it could do this, and it's like, okay, go do that, right? So, so those trainings aren't just they're not just to come and listen to John drone on. It's a come and participate, and we'll figure out what's new in Command together, right? Oh my gosh, it's time for a 5K. Megan's leading the charge on this, right? Because I think she committed to doing some sort of running event towards the end of the year.
I
This is going to be
actually
it.
committed to volunteering the day of the event, and so.
Oh, I can't run. Who's going? Anybody signed up yet? All right, there's a sign up that Pam is starting in the back of the room.
The sign up is for volunteers. So we can run or we can volunteer. We really only need 10 volunteers, 5 for the day before the event to like stuff the bags that the runners get. And then 5 to 7 the day of the event to just help make sure everybody is where they need to be. And so the thing that's going around is just for volunteers. I'm gonna post on Facebook after the meeting the link to sign up if you want to run. And it's a run, walk, bring your kids, push them in strollers, whatever. There's a face painter that's there. If the kids want to get their face painted, there's food, there's a couple, I think, like raffle things that they're doing. So I think it would be really awesome that Keller Williams is going to have red shirts and Berkshire is going to have purple shirts. I think it'd be cool to see at least as much red as there is purple. So it's a good opportunity for us to team up with another brokerage in town and put on an event. We don't have the opportunity.
Okay, so I saw like 3 hands go up a minute ago. It is important that we want to jump in and participate, right? We've done it in the past and had great turnout. We've had a lot of fun with it. Didn't you win something one year, Danelle?
Yeah, in my age group, because I think I was the only person who was running it. See, the possibilities are endless if you just show up. And I did walk the majority of it, Holly and I. I'm pretty sure I didn't watch it.
55
Quicker. My birthday is in 2 days. And I'm not gonna be 50. I'm much younger than you. I'm much younger than you.
Does everybody know that there's a business planning clinic hosted by the region on Thursday of this week? Is anybody going?
No.
1, 2,
Well,
3. Jane's going. What's that?
What was it?
It's called Business Planning Clinic.
Oh, yes.
Who can tell Tracy what's in Business Planning Clinic? Oh, you can tell us. All right, tell
I
us.
didn't hear what it was.
That's all right.
We're going to write our business plan. We're going to figure out what our goals are, what we should be doing, what should we be focused on, what should happen every month in order to meet those goals at the end of the year and to see success.
Absolutely. So I'm going to write simply put, this is going to be your business plan for 2020. Right? It's hugely important that we get it started. Hugely important that we get it started as soon as we possibly can. So that's why the region is hosting it now, which is just before the 1st of October. Why do we want to host it that early?
Because your 2020 starts in October.
Why? Your 2020 starts in October, according to Jesse. Why is that?
You need to fill your pipeline now for closings.
Yeah. Real estate is a 90-day business, right? So anybody that we're talking to now doesn't necessarily show up as a closing in 2019, right? So we're technically starting to work on our 2020 business. That's hard. So we're going to do it a second time. We have the privilege of having Ashley Miller as a MAPS coach in Champaign. She's an agent in Champaign. But she's a MAPS coach also. Everybody know her? All right. So she's going to come in and teach that here directly in the Market Center on November 5th. I'm telling you right now that November 5th is too late. So go Thursday, and then go to this as a refresher. That would be my opinion. But it's $10. Buys you lunch. Any other thoughts, comments about that? Okay.
Is it all day? That one?
Yeah, it's pretty much an all-day class. So I don't know what the times aren't set for it yet, but it'll be 9 to 3 or 9 to 4 or something like that. And again, absolutely worthwhile. It's a critical event to have for your business.
If you're going, try to have your this year's numbers. That's the best thing you can do so that you can be productive in that day.
No question. There is a whole homework assignment that shows up before it, and that looks like getting your numbers together for 2019 so that you can go in. That gives you real numbers that you can run your ratios and everything for 2020. It makes your numbers real, not make believe, not fantasy. Let's say. That make sense? Which is actually something that we're going to talk about today. So I'm curious, what'd you get in this business? Why is anybody in real estate? Candace, why did you choose real estate?
To help people and to supplement my income.
To help people. I heard supplement my income, but money, right? Because how much money can you make selling real estate?
Endless amount.
Oh, a lot. Absolutely.
I'm hoping on it.
Wow. That's it? Help people and make money.
Sequel houses.
See cool houses. I agree with that.
Relationships.
Build relationships.
Unlimited potential.
I'll put that there. I'll put that there.
Keep them sitting on the couch.
Here's what's interesting. The room is there's a handful of mostly veteran agents in here, but the other answer that I get most of the time when I ask that question is freedom.
Yeah, we forgot that one. Sorry, that's a big one.
That's okay, right? I get to be my own boss, right? I get to choose, right?
And I would bet the veteran agents didn't mention that because they know that's not true. Freedom matter.
Don't be a Debbie Downer.
Anybody know what that is? Does that look familiar to anybody? I ripped off I'm sure that that's a copyright violation showing this and putting it live on Facebook. I don't, right? I saw myself out. This is Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant. Right? Who can explain them? What's the E stand for? Employee. How much freedom does an employee have?
Not much.
Not much. How much money does an employee make? Not much. Right? So what's awesome is that we all at some point decided to jump into this thing called real estate and said, hey, I don't have to be an employee anymore, right? Because I want to make more money and I want to have some freedom, meaning that maybe someday I don't want to show up for work, right? I mean, it's Saturday after all, I should be able to stay home and watch cartoons, right? Okay? So we make that leap and we decide to become what?
Self-employed.
Self-employed. Okay? How much money does a self-employed person make?
A little bit more.
Huh?
A little bit more.
A little bit more? Maybe. Right? We're all kind of freaking out in here going, I don't know where this is going yet. Okay, so self-employed makes a little bit more. How much freedom does a self-employed person have?
A lot.
A lot?
Well, a little more. No, not a lot.
A little more, but not a lot. What happens? What happens as a self-employed person?
You also have to be self-motivated.
What if, yes, you do have to be self-motivated. What happens if I don't show up for work today?
You don't make any money.
I don't make any money. Is that why we got in this business? It's not why I got in. Why is Penny dancing in the back? That's okay. Okay, so some of us want to make a bigger leap, right? Some of us want to go, hey, I want to make more money, and I don't want to have to work on Saturday morning showing a buyer or a seller or whatever else. I don't want to have to answer the phone on Sunday afternoon. I don't want to have to be in the office at 6 p.m. Is that okay? That sound like freedom? Okay, so that's the leap to business owner according to Robert Kiyosaki. What does it mean to be a business owner?
So the difference between a business owner and a self-employed person. Self-employed person works in their business. A business owner leverages and owns the business, but doesn't necessarily have to work in it in order for it to continue.
Doesn't have to work in it in order for it to continue. Meaning?
Like I owned really tough businesses and I didn't work in them, I just wrote their checks. So that's what I did. I was the business owner, but I didn't work there.
She used the L word. Did anybody else hear it?
Leverage.
Is that the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner? Leverage? This is an open discussion, right? I'm not here to provide all the answers today. Maybe part of it. Some of it may be some of it just may be the way that we view life, right? So this is what we're going to talk about today. What's the I stand for?
Investor.
Investor. If you were an investor in your business, what would that look like? Or if you were just an investor, what does that look like?
Rental properties.
Could you have a rental property and still be self-employed?
Yep.
There's a whole lot of rental property owners I know that are self-employed. Meaning what? I have to go work on the rental property when the dishwasher breaks down, right? I have to go find another tenant, right? Freaks me out. So I still become self-employed. If you were truly an investor, what does that look like?
You just have money invested, and then you don't have, but you're not in charge of maintenance. Like you get to make money off of your money without having to do anything.
I don't have to be there. I don't have to make any decisions. All I have to do is look at my investment every day and make sure that it's actually making me the money that I expect it to make. Passive. And if it's not making me the money I want to make, I take it away and I go invest it somewhere else, right? That's the ultimate freedom. So anyway, how are we doing? How are we doing? We all got into real estate either to help people, to make more money, to have more time and freedom. How are we doing?
Not very well. I would have constantly.
Not very well, according to Tracy.
I'm just saying I work nonstop.
Oh, so the freedom part is where you're lacking.
Yeah, well, it's freedom. It's certainly my choice. I don't have to, but I can stop myself.
But then the income goes down.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have a different or similar perspective? You want to hear some national averages? Do you know how much an average real estate agent makes in a year? $38,000.
Here or everywhere?
Everywhere.
Really? Because of all the expenses, right? I mean, that's.
Oh no.
Or the lack of.
That's GCI. That's before expenses.
Wow.
I love that we're all appalled. I know, I seriously do, right? Because I agree with you. It seems crazy to jump into a business and only make $38,000. And yet, it's an average for a reason, right? I mean, so how are we doing? How are you doing? You know what I think is the hardest part? Hardest thing in the world for a real estate agent? not just a real estate agent. I think the hardest thing in the world for people, what is it you guys were talking about coaches this morning? Are you talking about now they can move teams without telling them coach, right? This is no different. I think we've landed in this world where we have this space between a fantasy and a reality. Okay? And I'm going to talk through these a little bit, and the purpose of this is for you guys to be able to look at your own business and say, hey, where is my business today? Now, a couple of things that I want to come out of this, right? It's not by mistake the business planning clinic is Thursday and November 6th or 5th or whenever it is, right? This is an opportunity to get a snapshot on our business today so that you can go, hey, here's where I am and here's where I need to be. Have we done this recently with our own business? Mm-hmm. And?
It's intense.
She's speechless for a reason. I'm telling you
It's
because...
good though. It's because it flows into our 411s. It gives us direction every week. It's measurable. You can come to us at the end of the week and say, is this done, is it not? We're not starting our day just saying, oh, these are the things I should probably do. It gives all of us a lot more focus and intentionality
Absolutely.
in every day.
This is why we want to talk about this. So here's the reality. We live in two different worlds, right? We can live in a world called fantasy. When you think of a world called fantasy, what do you think of?
Xanadu.
Xanadu. Absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like Olivia.
There, Olivia Newton-John. Yes. That is who you were talking of, right?
That's exactly right.
Fantasy. I don't know. I don't need to know any more about your fantasy, Jeff.
Full disclosure, my wife's present.
So you hear it, right? I mean, I think of Disney World. I think of even Las Vegas. I think of all these things. Fantasy is where everything good happens all the time, right? What about reality? What's the difference between fantasy and reality?
Big difference.
Dream and do.
Big difference.
Actions.
Dream and do. Yes, I actually agree with that insight.
It's the actions.
Let's go. Can we use the word evidence for reality? Right, because the evidence shows up everywhere, doesn't it? What kind of evidence do you have right now? So I'm going to pick on Tracy because she was the one that said, hey, not good. Time. She mentioned I'm working all the time. So the evidence for that would be her calendar, right? Is her calendar under control? Is it doing the things? Is she doing the things that she wants to do? That's the evidence. Make sense? Most of the time, what do? I get to stay in fantasy by not ever looking at my calendar, right? If I don't have a calendar to keep, then it doesn't exist, right? You just get to stay there. So, Pam says, do versus, what'd you say?
Dream.
Do versus dream. So I call them idle versus action. Right? Because if I sit idle, meaning I do nothing, what happens? Nothing? Nothing. And if I take action, something happens. Maybe good or bad or otherwise, right? I don't know yet, but here's what happens. If I live in a fantasy land and I don't take any action, I get to just be a dreamer, right? Does anybody know a dreamer?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that goes around and talks a good game all the time, right? I don't ever have to actually do anything. I can just sit in my office and I can just whatever, right? What happens when a dreamer starts looking at reality? Because I've dreamed of making $1 million. I've dreamed of having a boat in Monaco, right? In fact, I really want it now. In fact, I've gone to all these trainings from Keller Williams and they tell me that all things are possible for me, right? In fact, I sell real estate, which is, according to Gene Rivers, the land of opportunity. So, shoot, I could make $1 million. I could actually have that boat. I deserve it. Mo Anderson told me that at Quantum Leap, didn't she? She's like, it's yours to come get. Just go get a little jet, just like mine, right? I don't know, but as soon as I realize, I look at my bank account and I go, hey, how close am I to getting that jet or that boat in Monaco? Reality hits, and what happens to me? This? Have you ever been there? If you went back right now and looked at your goals for 2019, when you set your goal, it was a framework in which you set it around. Did anybody set a goal that doubled their business?
Yes.
And? How'd you do?
I'm on target.
I'm putting you on the spot. Again, I'm sorry for that.
That's okay.
She's on target.
I'm on target.
Which means that she may not be landing in this frustrated, right? When she looks at reality and says, hey, this was my goal and here's my reality, she's looking at it and going, hey, I'm congruent. That's a good thing.
But I am working all the time.
I'm not saying there's not problems, right? So here's the thing. When our dream and our reality don't line up, we get into this thing that's just not congruent, and that's where frustration lies. Okay? There's another one. There's another response besides frustrated. I could just be an idealist. So I might or might not be hitting my goals. I'm not hitting my goals right now, right? And so what we do, in order to avoid reality, we just become an idealist and say, oh, well, I'm just going to keep working hard. I just have to work a little bit harder. Actually, you know what? My Saturday afternoon's free, so I think I can probably convert one more of those leads and I'll take those buyers out. And that'll get me closer to my goal, right? Or I will just keep working on the stuff that I've always been working on. Right? What is it that you work? Say it again.
The most common thing I hear that makes me think of that is I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and eventually it will change. It's like kind of the definition of insanity.
Keep doing what you're doing, you'll get the same results that you've always gotten, right? So, but an idealist says, hey, no, it's okay, I'm going to work hard. I'm a hard worker. And so it's okay. Right? Here's the thing about the idealist. The idealist never confronts reality. They never have to look at the evidence for saying, hey, this is how my business is doing. This is how my life is shaping up. What are some things that you might point an idealist to in terms of to confront reality?
Their numbers,
Which numbers would you point them to?
their activity for the entire, meaning their transactions, their amount of money that they generate, what's their commission, what's their gross.
There are, yes, so there are 8 categories that I would look at if I was a real estate agent in order to live in reality. Contracts written, right? I mean, you guys have all heard of closed units volume, contracts written volume, listings taken volume, right? You know those numbers. I would also look at GCI. How much money did I bring in, right? $38,000. I might also look at what we would call a profit and loss statement. And so one of the places that I know that we really have a hard time is in how do we dial into those numbers? One of the things that I'm afraid of is that most of us are either living here or here. Now reality showed up with the frustrated person because there's no money in the checking account. This person isn't even looking at the checking account, right? They're just going, hey, as long as I live over here and just keep doing what I'm doing, it'll be fine. You don't have to confront that reality. And so what we want to do is pull out that evidence of how did we do for the year. That's actually when you become an achiever. This is the goal. This is where we want to be in. In order to be an achiever, you have to take action that aligns with the reality. And in order to get there, you have to look at the reality. You have to look at the evidence all the time in order to evaluate your actions. So, at 9:30 on a Tuesday morning, where would you go to look at reality of your business? Go ahead, Seth.
I'd go straight into QuickBooks.
Straight into QuickBooks, right? So, so you're going to look at the numbers. What is QuickBooks going to tell you?
So I can go in and pull up any report I want. It'll show me the income piece, you know, as long as it's recorded properly, all of the expenses, how much money we spend, where we sit all the time. And then, of course, outside of QuickBooks, we can go into the Keller Williams numbers that we have and look at our production numbers.
Absolutely. So Seth gets to take this one step farther because he's built a business that allows him to plan some things. He says QuickBooks because that's the financial map of where his business is. And there's nothing more powerful than those numbers that come out financially to tell you this is what all of your actions achieved. Now, I also know the reality is that most of us don't have that framework today. And so for me to go build that, you know how long it would take me to build that if I didn't have it for the last 12 months? A long time. And I don't have the expertise, and I don't have the time, because you know what's going to happen to me as soon as I start building that?
You're gonna quit doing production.
I'm going to go, oh yes, I'd be happy to go show that house today. Or because I don't want anything to do with that other reality, it's a little bit hurtful. And if I can have an opportunity to pick up revenue, I'm a salesman at heart. At the end of the day, I'm going to go sell a house because that's what my heart wants to do. So we lose our opportunity reality. So I'm going to tell you there's a leverage component to that that we need to figure out. Seth gave us another piece. He said something about the numbers of his business. Has anybody ever heard of a multi-year trends report? Would you like an exercise to do today? Just to confront reality of your own business? Tracy's going, I think so. Here's what we want to do. In your multi-year trends. Now, if you've been with Keller Williams for less than a year, this data will not be available to you. Although I think we can probably go back and reconstruct some of this. If you want some help, come find me, grab Megan, and we'll help you construct some of this stuff. Here's what you want to look at. In your multi-year trends report, it's going to give you every month. I can't write them all down. It doesn't even matter. Here's what we want to know. What was your GCI in these months?
That's the coolest report on them.
I happen to agree with you. And you know what?
Unbelievable. Because, you know, my husband will always say, real estate is risky. You never know what your income's going to be. So I pulled up this report and I was like, okay, what's the common theme? There's a minimum amount I make every month. Like, it's not risky, you know? So it's a great report. It is.
Yes, it is.
Very reinforcing.
Here's the two things that it's going to do for you. And seriously, this is going to launch you in this fourth quarter of 2019. I promise you. This will give you every month what your income has been, your GCI, your gross commission income, right? What's important about that number? That's your revenue. Do you know what I know about it over the year? If I drew it as a graph, it looks something like this, right? It's great in these months. It's horrible in these months. Do you know what happens in a real estate company like this that has 90 some odd agents? It looks just like this. It does. So that's not an opportunity for me to get frustrated. That's an opportunity for me to combine reality with proper action. And so now, once I know this, I can go and shape my business a little bit differently so that the fourth quarter doesn't show up and go, holy crap, what just happened? We just lost our tails. Right? So here's the other thing that this thing does for you. It's going to give you, at the end of this, there's going to be a box. It's going to have a percent change in it. And that percent change is going to give you a year-over-year change in your business. So it's going to say, hey, from 2018 to 2019, you grew by 12%. Congratulations, it's been a good year. Or it's going to give you something less than stellar, at which point a lot of us are going to land here because we just understood the reality of our situation and all the hard work that we've done. All of a sudden we realize that, hey, we took the wrong actions, which really means that we were probably more idle than we were active. So what we want to do is we want to take your GCI from last year for these months. From last year, we're going to multiply by that percentage. So if you were up 10%, and it said in September of 2018, you made $1,000 in GCI, we can predict that in September of 2019, you're going to make $1,100. Does that make sense? And if you made, let's just use $1,000 for every month. Right? So now, what happens when I can predict how much income I'm going to have between now and the end of the year?
Make a budget.
I can make a budget. Right? Because some of us may not be fortunate enough to say, hey, we're going to make $1,100 a month. Some of us may look at that and go, hey, you know what? December's going to be slow. Megan, what happened when we ran our numbers?
November and December are sad months for us.
November and December are sad months for us. Do you know what sad months look like when they show up on a financial statement? They're in red and they're in parentheses. Right? It means they're negative, which means it's costing us money to be in business for those months. You okay with that? I'm not okay with that. Right? Megan and I landed on, hey, we're not okay. Jacob's shaking his head. We're not okay with that. But here's the truth. Most of us right now aren't even paying attention to that. But what's going to happen in December is, and we're all going to show up, and you know what's going to happen around here? We're going to have not very Merry Christmases. We're just going to be cranky. And you know what's worse than that is even in January, we show up, and it's like, holy crap, I'm glad 2019's over. 2020 is a new year. I'm going to double my business. Right? Those are the goals that we're going to set, because that's what's happened to us every year in the past. We've always set this really overly ambitious goal that says, hey, we're going to do all this better, and we're not living in reality necessarily. We're living here. I want to change that, right? I want to give us an opportunity to do better. So I want to go and put together your fourth quarter so that you can say, this is where my GCI is going to be. Now, the part that the multi-year trend report isn't going to give you that I think is absolutely critical is, who said it? Somebody said expenses over here. Jacob.
Yes.
What happens? What happens when our revenue months look really sad? What challenge did you have in the last week?
We still have like a fixed amount of expenses, and so we need to make enough to cover those expenses.
We still have a fixed amount of expenses. What's our budget for the month? Ish.
My new budget?
Nope.
It was like $55,000.
About $55,000. Do you guys know how much you spend in a month as a real estate agent?
Yes.
Some of you yes, and some of you no, right? So again, this isn't an indictment. This is a challenge to you to say, hey, let's move from here to here, because I don't want to see anybody here, right? So let's move to this achiever side. When we move into this achiever side, we can look at it and we go, hey, I know that my office bill is $125 a month, and I know that I have a phone bill, and I know that I have, for some of us, it's only 3 or 4, maybe 5 expenses that we have. Right? Our marketing budgets aren't out of sight. So it's pretty easy to contain what these numbers are. But here's what we want to do is go through here and say, how much money are you going to spend each one of these months? So that we can come up with what? Oh, yeah, so here's what happens when these numbers show up as negative, and they may, it's likely that in December some of our numbers are going to show up as negative. I'm just telling you, that's reality. Until we turn it around. We turn it around by, this is what I challenged Jacob with this month, is hey, figure it out. Because I'm not willing to have a December that loses $12,000. That was the prediction. That was the prediction when we were in at first. I'm not willing to do that. Or is that the prediction now?
That was the prediction first.
We're not willing to do that. So now what we have to do is say, hey, now that I know this reality, what's my strategy? Right? What is my strategy for getting here to where, hey, I may be well beyond the point where I can make it profitable. I may be well, probably can't turn it into a $10,000 profit this month, at this point. Maybe I can. But how do I at least get it to a 0? And there's, you know what your 2 options are.
Cut expenses.
Yeah, spend less money.
Increase revenue.
Spend less money, that's one option.
Or make more money.
Make more money. So which one's more important?
Making more
Trick
money
question.
is easier than cutting expenses.
It's a trick, it absolutely is a trick question. Here's the thing, they're both important. We were fortunate enough to be on a call with Rich Murray yesterday. Rich Murray? Real Trends is the company that he owns. Steve Murray, thank you. That's Rich Murray's owns a granite company over in Peoria.
That is a name.
Steve Murray, he owns a company called Real Trends, and what they do is analyze real estate businesses across the country. And he does that for Keller Williams. Again, we were on a call with him and helped us through some of these things. You know what he said? The most important 3 things are going forward in 2020 for any real estate company.
Spend less.
Yeah, add people, develop people, spend less. That's it. That's all he said. Those are your only 3 focuses. If I had to translate that into a real estate business, to a sales business, what does that look like?
Add clients.
List, grow your database, list more properties,
Spend less money.
spend less money.
And sometimes too, it's about looking at the fact that, like, for example, I don't work in December typically the last 3 weeks of the year. We just take off for vacation. So
Great.
then I do not work, so I know
Great.
that January will have lower income because of that, because I'm usually a 30-day closer. So I know that that's going to be an income month that I need to plan for throughout the year. So I have a little bit every single month that is reserved for January's budget.
Do you hear how intentional that just became? If I were a business owner, would it be okay for me to say, hey, I'm not going to work in December, and so therefore we're not going to make any money?
Yes, if you want to.
Well, yes, I agree if you want to, and yeah, it doesn't accomplish any of our goals. Here's the thing. She just said it differently. She said, hey, because I'm a business owner, I'm going to work differently throughout the year so that my December and my January equalize. I'm still taking 3 weeks off. As a business owner, that's your privilege. As a business owner, your job is to make sure that that business is profitable every month. Not just profitable every month, right? I mean, so this is a, I want it to be profitable, but I want it to be wildly profitable, right? This isn't about making $1,000 and going, oh, hey, that was fun. I can't do much with $1,000. I can do something with $1 million. Believe it or not, you can't do that much with $100,000 these days either. Okay, you get it. Do you see the link between being a business owner? You see where these go? They're not intended to overlay, to be honest with you, but they kind of do. So, here's what we want to do. Here's your exercise for today. Go ahead, you go.
Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Now we're closing.
Just quietly backing up.
Go make some money.
Here's the challenge. Will you go and face reality today so that you can say, okay, now I know where I've been, so that I can go to Business Planning Clinic and determine this is where I want to go. Business Planning Clinic is all about setting up the action that you're going to take in 2020 and giving you the evidence so that everyday reality, so you always know my actions are congruent with, right? I'm achieving my goals. Does this make sense? Questions? Does everybody know where to find it?
If you don't have the data in your MyKW because you haven't been here long enough, I can run the same thing in Brokermetrics. So
Yeah.
come see me if you can't get it from there.
Yeah, we may have to estimate some of the GC out of that, but that's
We can do that.
easy enough. Does this make sense? Okay, this is like the nod of everybody going, holy crap, just get me out of here, because I'm not gonna go around those numbers. And that's okay. I mean, it's not okay, because what I'm afraid of is that everybody's gonna land here. Here's what I know. $38,000 annually for a real estate agent shows up for a reason. And the difference between an achiever and somebody that just says, oh no, don't worry, I got this, is that. So, that's what I've got. We're here to help you.